Stray Catter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's some peppy music for this Friday.
Right.
Kellyanne Conway is linked to the White House. She's standing in front of her right now. She's special counselor to the president. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kellyanne, I understand you have an expanded role with this administration. That's the story at Axios today. Is that true?
What does it say?
All right, let me find out. Are you worried?
I'm just here to talk about North Korea, China.
I know, but I do like to know if you're going to even be busier than ever before.
Brian says you need a pay raise.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, that's okay. I don't need a pay raise. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
I tell you what.
No, I'm just here. I'm here to serve the president's agenda as counselor of the president. It takes on many different aspects. But I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that report.
Okay, and Brian's
I want to say what really okay, go ahead. What really struck me in Axios though was I think it's lost in the shuffle of the fact that NBC News had to correct its bombshell of a report that ended up being a bomb, that there were wiretaps, not so much pen registers, nobody listening to the audio, just taking note of the numbers. And then I noticed at the end of an Axios story this morning that didn't involve me that ABC News had also tweeted out they confirmed the wiretap story and then deleted it and replaced it with a tweet. And Brian Ross is no longer there. So someone else is doing that. But this is just the rush to judgment, the presumptive negativity all of the time, and the lack of coverage of the agenda. Look at the media polls and what Americans are telling media pollsters is important to them versus what the same media actually cover. This president is getting so much done for the American people. Look at what's happening in North Korea. We're on the verge of a summit if the conditions work out and the president is pleased with them. But we're on the verge of a verifiable, irreversible denuclearization of North Korea, potentially. Big news.
It is big news. You know, every reporter from time to time gets something wrong. I get that. NBC said they had two sources and apparently...
Anonymous sources.
Right, exactly, and they were wrong.
Their favorite.
But what you said was so important was there's just a rush to judgment. There seems to be, you know, their hair is on fire if they've got new news about Donald Trump that makes them look bad.
Well, they also don't realize sometimes how easily baited they are. Someone will put something on Twitter and then they presume what it's supposed to say and what it doesn't. You got to work harder than that, folks. Respectfully, you're here to report, not react. And I do think in some ways the president has made many people a little soft and sometimes a little bit less active than perhaps they should be in trying to get the story. They're not here to get the president, they're here to get the story. And as the president and our press secretary make very clear, he's among the most available, transparent presidents. People say, oh, he doesn't have a formal press conference. This is somebody who speaks out on the South Lawn, who answers questions during pool sprays, even when they're off topic, during bilateral appearances with the heads of other countries. The foreign press is often asking a question that actually relates to the relationship between the two countries. Our press is usually asking a question that doesn't, and the president answers them anyway. So this is a president who's happy to answer questions. He's on Twitter daily. He sent out 3 tweets in a row yesterday, I think clarifying and expanding on the conversation through the first person here, the president, who would know what was happening. But you have to go beyond Twitter. You have to go beyond social media when you're covering this president and really try to report the story. But the rush to judgment, the presumptive negativity has really been, it's been a staple of the way this president's been covered since day one. And this isn't about biased media. This is about incomplete coverage of things people care about. You look at the National Day of Prayer in the Rose Garden yesterday. Thank you so much for having the gentleman on who reformed his life and found Christ and was exalted by the president yesterday, along with the agent who had arrested him originally. That is a story of redemption and mercy and somebody who overcomes. That is the American spirit. This president loves to highlight stories like that in the Rose Garden and elsewise. You had 6 faith leaders representing very different faiths yesterday offering prayer. You had much of the cabinet there, the vice president. Very little coverage of it, but I would commend Americans to just cut out the middleman when they want. Go pull up the clip. Go treat yourself to 38 minutes of the National Day of Prayer yesterday and really see the beauty of your country in action.
We really only had 4.5 hours of a story that they said that Michael Cohen's had his lines wiretapped, and that was walked back at about 5:30 on MSNBC.
I want to add one more thing. People do make mistakes, but at the Trump White House, our mistakes live forever, right? And I think those, just like, and that's the problem. problem here, isn't it? The media protect each other. It's like, oh, well, they've corrected it. They said they were sorry. Excuse me. Even after Saturday night, I told people those who are seeking mercy and instant absolution and forgiveness ought to have demonstrated the capacity to have offered some over the last 16 months.
And I will say this, I got to ask for forgiveness. It's not Axios, it's Playbook that tells you, Kellyanne, you now have an expanded role temporarily, taking a more active role in communication strategy at the White House. Would you say that's true?
Well, what I would say is I'm very happy to help in that regard. And I want to say something about the communication shop here. And the press shop. There are dozens of men and women who work incredibly hard, who are not household names, who aren't part of the public facing of this administration. They are here every day working hard to advance the president's agenda. It's a very intense place to work because the sheer volume and velocity of issues that this president puts forward. He is a man of action and a town of talk and wants to keep disrupting and pushing forward. Look at what he's doing in the international stage domestic agenda. Why is that important? Because this is 2018. And the way that you can communicate with the public through different social media platforms, through different opportunities, is just so much more diverse and so much more plentiful than it's been for any past president. Also, President Donald Trump is very unique and unconventional in that he prefers the democratization of information. He prefers to go directly to the people, tweet out, use Instagram, use Facebook, different social media platforms to connect directly. So I think in 2018, with a media-centric, social media-savvy president and different ways to communicate, we don't need the conventional structure that these other White Houses have had. Our digital team, and Dan Scavino and his social media team, he's like a one-armed paper hanger, that guy. It's unbelievable what he does. They are elevated in this White House because that's the way we're communicating with America. Our director of strategic communications. So we have lots of people. I want to create subject matter experts, people who are on trade, on immigration, on opioids, to come forward and write communications plan and to make sure that press and comms are separate. Press, Sarah and her team, they're worried about next hour, next day. That's their job. Comms, more peeking around the corner the next 6 days, 6 weeks.
Okay, Kellyanne, we want to ask you about April Ryan. She's that White House correspondent. Remember, months ago, she accused Sarah Huckabee Sanders of not really making that pecan pie. They've gone back and forth with different exchanges in the room behind you in the press briefing room. Yesterday, April Ryan was taunting the White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, accusing her of playing street politics. Listen to this and we'll get your reaction.
Blindsided. You said yourself you were blindsided.
I actually didn't use that term.
Well, I said it, but you were blindsided from what you said.
Well, with all due respect, you actually don't know much about me in terms of what I feel and what I don't.
What it shows me is that she was feeling that she was in a vice. You know, of sorts. But she went straight to me to say something like, you know, you don't know me. In certain sectors of this nation, people understand what you don't know me means. It's very street, and it leads to a fight, a physical fight. So I'm not there to fight. I'm there to ask questions.
Really? It's a street?
In a vice of sorts? And if you say you don't know me, that means you're going to get in a street fight?
April approached me on Sunday at a post-White House Correspondents' Dinner event, and I won't disclose that conversation because I think she meant it to be private, but I will tell you that we try to engage with each other as you know, women to women, people to people. Everybody knows that there's a person behind the positions here. I'm counsel to the president. They're in the White House press corps, for example, but people like to have conversations about your family, about your hobbies, things other than, but you know, April is one of many people who approached me, if not Sarah, after that dinner on Saturday night and was not pleased with what had happened at that dinner, and I'm going to leave it at that. The reason I mention that at all is I prefer when these conversations are about information, not confrontation. And I have to pick up for my colleague Sarah Sanders there. Folks, you don't know us, and that's not anything other than a pedestrian term of you don't know us, and you should think about, I think everybody should think about the difference between trying to go viral and start an argument and trying to get information. Your job is to get information, not confrontation.
Right.
And I'll tell you, a lot of this has nothing to do with April Ryan. I'm making a more general statement here. Indeed. A lot of the folks who dish it out really can't take it. That was my point in a Sunday show a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Be careful if you would be very thin-skinned on the receiving end and the kind of stuff that is on our shoulders like boulders every single day here. Let's dial down the temperature a little bit. in the furtherance of information. Sarah goes to that podium every day that she briefs, and she is trying to provide information the best she possesses it and the best that she knows it at that moment. But things here move so fast that volume and velocity alone, and the press corps will tell you that. They've never seen, people who have worked in comms and press in Democratic and Republican administrations will tell you they've never seen anything like it.
It is something. Just like every time you're on TV, that guy with the leaf blower comes up behind you. He's your friend.
There aren't any leaves here, by the way. I just think he enjoys being with us.
Hello.
Yeah, can I just say...
But how beautiful is the White House? Look at this.
It looks beautiful.
But why can't you do it during Outnumbered at noon?
I'll be back.
All right. Kellyanne, thank you very much for joining us.
Take care. Have a great day, great weekend.
You too.
You too. All right, coming up. Who do Democrats want in the White House in 2020? You're looking at her. Take a look. Elizabeth Warren says she's not running, so I don't know if I believe that or not, but she's at top of the list in terms of popular Democrats. Ed Henry on deck to expand.
Janice Dean live at the Kentucky Derby. Today she's the racing machine.
Yes, and we are going to learn how to savor this champagne and also taste the official drink of the Kentucky Oaks. Stay with us. The 144th Kentucky Derby is here on Fox and Friends. Woo!